Yeah. Well, I would love to tell you a story about Dr. Scott Hahn.
Yeah, sure.
And I didn't do this on purpose, but it's a story about this book right here.
Yeah, yeah.
And so just what you said when you're praying about Jesus, is there more? I made a dangerous decision to ask Jesus to show me if it was indeed true, if I didn't have the fullness. So I prayed this little prayer, and I was like, these are really big claims, and I find them a little offensive, Lord. So please show me if it's true, if there is indeed more out there. And then I heard that there was this biblical scholar coming to Phoenix, and he went by the name of Dr. Scott Hahn. And now at this point, I had read Rome Sweet Home, and I had read The Lamb's Supper. I had listened to his conversion story online. And so I was familiar that he was like the quintessential Catholic convert. And so I thought, like, okay, I'm working at this mega church. I will go, but I need to stay under the radar because there's going to be a lot of people there. This mega church is also very big. I cannot get seen at this Catholic conference while I am working on this Protestant staff. So I'm like, okay, I'll go because apparently it's just an amazing opportunity to be able to see Dr. Scott Hahn in person, and I'll just go listen to what he has to say. Probably not going to agree with it, but I'm just going to go. So I decided to go, and I sat in the back of the church, and there was so many people there. There was people outside. They couldn't even come into the church because there was no room left. They were watching the conference on TVs. It was incredible. This is actually pre-COVID. And so I go, and I am utterly captivated. It was Dr. John Bergsma first, and he does this beautiful exhortation on the covenants and salvation history. And I'm actually in one of his courses this semester, and so I'm getting like a refresher from a few years ago. And so I go, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is not going well for me because I'm like really understanding what these guys are saying. So about halfway through the conference, I go to, on the lunch break, I go to their little setup library that they have, and they're like selling all these St. Paul Center books, and there's tons of books. And in my intensity, I think to myself, okay, I want the book that seems like it sums up the thing about Catholicism. And at that time, I had felt like that seemed like it was the Eucharist. And so I picked this book out, and it's about this thick. It's real thick. And I picked the book out, and I'm like, okay, it seems like this is the thing that Catholicism hinges on. It seems like it's the main difference between Protestantism and Catholicism. This whole John 6 thing, like, I don't really understand this. It's kind of weird sounding, but like, it's pretty important if we're wrong about that. So I decided to go buy that book, and I got up to the cashier, and at the time I decided that my ministry salary didn't justify the price of the book. And so I actually put it back. And I thought that maybe I'd like find it cheaper on Amazon or something. Well, fast forward to the end of the day, Dr. Hahn comes up, and he's got to catch a flight. And so he's thanking everyone for being there. And they had passed around prayer cards and donation cards earlier in the day. And I thought to myself, okay, I don't know if I agree with these guys, but I at least know that they love Jesus. And in the Protestant church, tithing was very important. And so I thought to myself, like, okay, I'll just give them like a little donation because I at least support their intellectualism and that they love the Lord. So I gave the St. Paul Center this little donation. And then I wrote Dr. Hahn this note on the card, thinking it would stay between us. So at the end of the day, he goes up to the mic, and he's thanking everyone for being there. And he says, before I catch my flight, there's this book that I want to give away. And he holds up the book, and it's the Eucharist. It's and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just picked that book out and put it back like a couple hours ago. Like, this is not happening. So he says, I'm going to give away this book, and I'm going to stick my hand in this giant bowl of donations and names and the people who are here, and I'm just going to pick at random. And so he sticks his hand in the bowl at the very bottom, and then he opens, and then he reads my name.
Oh my God.
To all of these people, this giant church. Mind you, I'm sitting in the back. I'm trying to keep a low profile. And he
Undercover.
reads my name. And then he decides to read out loud what I wrote him.
Oh my God.
And what I wrote on that card
said,
Dear Dr. Hahn, I'm a Protestant, but after today, not for long.
Oh, no.
The whole parish erupts in cheering, and I have to walk down the aisle in front of all of these people. He gives me the book. He gives me this giant hug, and he says, "You made my day."
Wow.
And we hug, and he gives me the book, and I'm like, Lord, it looks like I need to read about the Eucharist. Wow. This is absolutely crazy. And then a bonus part to that story, fast forward 5 years to this year, I share the idea of theology of conversion, which is my ministry. It's my project that exists to equip Catholics to draw their Protestant friends and loved ones home. And I share it with one person. I kind of share a proposal about the project, just an idea. And then a couple of days later, I look down at my phone. I'm getting this call, and it says Steubenville, Ohio. And I'm like, come Holy Spirit. I said it out loud. I was just like, come Holy Spirit. And I answered the phone, and he says, Justine. And I go, hi, Dr. Hahn. It was God Hahn. So I got to revisit 5 years later and tell him about what happened. I'm like, I'm the girl from 5 years ago. Like, you gave this book away. And then I found out from his assistant that was the one and only time that the St. Paul Center had ever given away the Eucharist by Fingal. Can you believe that? So I say all of that to say, the Lord is very funny.
Yes.
He's very intentional, and he will answer us when we ask him questions, you know? And so that like launched me into my love for the Eucharist. That's why it's in my bio. A deep love for the Eucharist.
That's an incredible story.